Okay, so after that second preseason game, Lions fans were a little like, "Oh man, it was hard to watch." You're excited for football to be back. You know it's preseason, so you've got your expectations, but we're so excited to see some football happen at Ford Field, and it's like all of our backups, and it's rough. The Jags kill us, and it's like, ah. So it got me thinking about a crucial decision that the Detroit Lions made that just shows me this regime, this leadership from top to bottom is so solid. And before I get to that, though, we've been having a lot of fun asking you guys questions before the videos to comment below. And uh, I'd love to know if you made it to the Silverdome and a game that you made it to the Silverdome and how loud it was. What a unique atmosphere. I mean, that thing looked like a spaceship. It was just an awesome dome. It stood out as you drove up to it. My first game, I was like 10, 11. It was so loud in there. I just remember thinking, like, does people know that like this could damage our ears? I remember thinking that. I think this could damage our ears. Everybody, is anyone paying attention to that? Absolutely loved it. Let me know your Silverdome memories. So the decision I'm talking about is the joint practices. And I'm going to break that down a little bit. I know we know what joint practices are, but when you really look at it, the Lions are ahead of this, right? That shows Dan Campbell. It shows, I mean, even the Ben Johnsons, but this is ahead. This is bigger than Ben Johnson. This is like Dan Campbell being innovative, being ahead of the joint practices situation, because we are one of a few teams that had two joint practices. We're one of three teams, one or two or three teams that had them both at home where we hosted them, right? We're out ahead of this. So we're not traveling to do it. We did it last year, went to Indianapolis. This year teams came to us. It's controlled. I'm gonna break it all down for you. So here's the joint practices situation that they went through, and it said, look, joint practices provide more competition for NFL starters than preseason games. We know this. Why is this? Because it's controlled. Controlled in the way that if you're a quarterback, you can go out, play against other competition, and you're not going to get hit, right? You can stay off the quarterback. Absolutely love it. Here's what Daboll said, who was just with the Lions, or practicing against the Lions. The Giants head coach, you have a bunch of competitive people that are hitting each other every day, but we're going to try and take care of one another, keep people off the ground, stay away from the quarterback. Just practice the right way, like you're practicing against your team, but against the competitive juices flowing. But do a good job of respecting them and look forward to that in return. So, absolutely. And Dan Campbell broke it down perfectly. He's like, how many times can Panay and Hutch go against each other? I mean, they can go forever, but they get to know each other's moves. And it's just the second you bring in a new guy, a new starter from another team, it forces that level up without risking injury in a preseason game where you don't know, are they blitzing? Are they now you can just do one-on-one drills, right? Panay can go against their number one D end, and now he's getting work, they're getting work, perfect. Versus, all right, it's a preseason game, got to get Panay in there, got to get got to get the starters in there, and now they blitz, and Panay doesn't pick it up, and they blitz somebody from behind and it hits Panay in the back. Like, all these weird things can happen. That's why joint practices are so much better than just playing in the preseason. And the reason I say that is because when you're playing in we watch the preseason, we want to see what's going on, want to see the team. Let's go. What do we got? And it's not a whole lot of nothing. That's because the starters, even the second string really is getting work in these joint practices that we have. So if you look at the joint practices schedule, you'll see this is the number of teams that had joint practices. Detroit being one of the first to have a joint practice. They were one of two or three to host both times at joint practice. So in this story here, it talks about 27 teams are scheduled to participate in a joint practice, up from 23 last year. 13 teams are holding two joint practices, up from 7 last year. And again, we hosted both. I love it. I love that Dan Campbell, because when I first saw joint practice, I'm like, that's cool. Let's get an opportunity to, go against another team. That's not something you do in high school. It's not something you do in college. But in the pros, it makes perfect sense. You can have Jared Goff going against one-on-one, not having to worry about getting hit. Because in the preseason, you're like, you know what? Let's just call bullcrap plays to get the ball out of his hand quick so he doesn't get hit. Is that really helping anybody? Are we really getting any work done? So I love it. And here's what Pete Carroll had to say. Here are the teams that don't have joint practices: Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Dallas, Seattle. And I completely disagree with Pete Carroll here. Which, by the way, Pete Carroll has always annoyed me. That's all. Thank you. He's just annoying. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the gum chewing. I don't know if it's I don't know what it is that he's like 80, but he acts like he's 30. I don't know why I can't stand Pete Carroll, but he said, I think we control practice better the way we do it. Right? I get it. You're nervous. What's the other team going to do? What's the level? Are they going hard? We not? Fine. And he said, look how hard we were running against each other the other day. This is where I think he's just so wrong, and Dan Campbell is so right. Dan Campbell said, how many times, and he's so right, how many times can we go against the same person in practice and you just learn them? It's your teammates. Are you really going as hard as you would if a New York Giant player comes into town and now it's new blood, it's new guy, it's new player, he's bigger, he's faster, right? We're not going to see the same cookie cutter person every week in the NFL. So why not bring in other guys that you can see? I love the decision to have 2 joint practices on this training camp. Our starters are getting a lot of good work. We haven't had any injuries, knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood all over the place here. We haven't had any injuries. So I love the direction that we're going, not just with joint practices. That's just the small piece of it. It's just telling me that we have a coach, a general manager, front office, leadership, Chris Spielman, the whole thing, right? From top to bottom, they get it. And it's blowing my mind. They get it. And again, this is just one little piece of the whole puzzle that the Lions continue to just excel at. They're kind of ahead of the curve of the joint practices. They're treating players right. They're finding out what the players want. They're getting the right players. They're drafting the right players, the right coaches. I mean, the whole thing is like, what is going on? It's hard to really pinpoint it as a Lions fan that has been watching the Lions, and for years you've talked yourself into to it. Just, when Matt Patricia was here, you're like, yeah, I mean, that'll work. He's smart, man. He is the smartest guy I've ever. I mean, I think he's smart. I think he's like he went to school to be like space rocket scientist, man. Like, the guy's smart. No, it's not gonna work. Jim Caldwell, you're like, you know what? He's good. He's good. I like the way, and it's just like, it's not there. And Martin Mayhew, whoever was here, GM, coach, you tried your hardest to think, yeah, this is it. This is it. I think we got something. But now we really do, and it's awesome. And it's great to see, and can't wait to see what this season holds. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Again, your favorite Silverdome memory, and we'll see all of you on the next one.